Leaders from 150 nations, along with 40,000 delegates from 195 countries, are extremely close to the finish line on a global climate change agreement. That, according to the French Foreign Minister, Laurent Fabius. The Conference of Parties, or COP21, is trying to seal agreement to keep temperature rises in check and avoid dangerous global warming. Later, we'll talk with several climate experts, but first, for more on the agreement itself, we turn to CCTV's Kate Parkinson, who is in Paris. And Kate, the latest draft was released on Thursday. What are its key provisions and what are the remaining sticking points?
Well, there is certainly a sign of progress every time we get a new draft here in Paris. There are less brackets in it. Brackets are used to denote points of disagreement. On Saturday, there were more than 900 brackets in the draft. On Thursday, there were around 350, and in yesterday's draft, just 50 points of disagreement. So certainly there are signs of progress, but the sticking points that remain are the big issues that have been potential deal blockers from the start. The UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon mentioned a few today. He said the big issues are over ambition, how far the agreement should be trying to limit global warming. Should it be to lower than 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, or the more ambitious target of 1.5 degrees? Saudi Arabia reportedly strongly opposed to that more ambitious target. There's also issues over climate financing. Who's going to pay for all the damage that global warming causes around the globe, and who's going to help developing countries make that switch to a low carbon economy? There is also differences in agreement over differentiation. This is the roles and responsibilities of rich countries versus poor countries. So some big issues. One point of disagreement that has come to light in the last 24 hours is the issue of regular reviews. China reportedly resisting calls from the US and the European Union for there to be regular reviews and updates of national reduction targets. China has put out its targets for carbon reduction, and it doesn't want to update that. So this is also another one of the big ongoing issues here at the climate conference in Paris.
Now, of course, Kate, no deal is without its critics. What are some of them saying about this one?
Well, absolutely. Certainly there is a lot of talk among climate activists that this deal may be too weak, and actually in the spirit of making compromises, there might be too much that is put to one side just to try and get a deal signed here in Paris. And actually they're pointing to the fact that there is a big difference between the political aspirations of the deal. I already mentioned the target of reducing global warming to within 2 degrees, or even the more ambitious 1.5 degrees Celsius. But there's a big difference between the rhetoric and the reality, because actually the national targets that have been presented only reduce global warming to around 2.7 degrees. So already climate activists, environmental groups are saying what is on the table doesn't go anywhere near far enough to actually reduce global warming and protect people, particularly in the most vulnerable countries who are most susceptible to climate change. So there have been a lot of protests here at Le Bourget, the conference venue, and also around Paris, and more planned for tomorrow. That's defying the ban that we have on protests here in Paris because of the state of emergency. Climate activists really want their voices to be heard and urge global leaders to take bold, decisive actions to really tackle climate change.